It's very tough as you've had people who are early adopters of a brand and took the risk early on. And as the brand has grown and you've added talent, a lot of time it's upgrading talent. How do you continue to reward those people who came on, yet meet the demands of more senior level people? This is incredibly challenging and something that we get asked about all the time. The short answer is to, at the end of the day, to attract top talent, you're going to need to pay fair market comp, which is likely higher than what these early employees were compensated or might be compensated. As you evolve, you'll need to reassess those people's contributions to the company. Maybe you hired a first salesperson and gave them a VP of sales title. And now you've gone and hired a real VP of sales. And in reality, that person might be a regional sales manager at best, which is okay, and their comp should reflect that. Those early adopters, however, likely will have a higher equity or should have a higher equity in the company. If not, you might have to look at bumping up their compensation. And this goes not only across sales, but marketing, finance, ops as well. But as you grow and upgrade talent, this is a normal growing pain. This labor market, based on our data, based on workflow we see coming in, and we have a really just unique perspective and fortunate perspective. Everything that we see, we have not seen any slowdown during our normal dips, including this past Labor Day. We anticipate the labor market to stay quite strong, specifically for our industry, and for it to continue to be a talent crunch, which I think it's just going to remain a candidates market, which can add some pressures and challenges for high growth brands. With that said, if you get someone that you like, I don't think you settle and lose them and lose top talent over $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year in base compensation, because I don't think that you're going to have a relief later into next year where maybe more talent becomes available. I wouldn't wait. The easy answer here is to give every candidate exactly what they want in hopes that it attracts people and makes them excited to come work for your brand. The reality is that's not possible. If you have different operations people who need to be on site, literally, that's a no-brainer. But we are seeing the work from home remote model continue to evolve, specifically in CPG. I would say for higher growth brands where maybe your operation side is turnkey, and maybe from an operational cost perspective, it's actually helpful not to have an office. I think it's going to continue to stay as well. Listen to your team. That goes back to checking in and making sure that you're retaining the top talent, that you're meeting their needs, maybe not financially, but personally as well. Maybe it's really hard maybe you do go in office, but it's hard for some of your team who have kids to get there at 9. So maybe they have a flex work time where they can come in earlier and leave earlier. Those are things that are going to continue to stay because candidates are really driving the market. And so that's something that you'll need to consider as you look to grow your teams. That's something that you definitely need to have that conversation with employees early on, because they might have recently been through a successful exit and tasted financially the success of that. And that might be what they enjoy doing, is growing a brand, exiting to a strategic, finding the next brand, growing it and doing it over and over again. If you don't plan on exiting, that's okay, but it goes back to attracting talent, retaining talent. They'll want to know that ahead of time. And other things you can do other than granting equity is maybe having a profit sharing plan or other bonuses incentives that offset company ownership. Now, never say never, because you never have an idea who's going to come to the table and what dollar amount, and what could happen there. And you can talk to a lot of founders that you rub shoulders with. You might share, yeah, I never thought we'd exit, but we did. But there is other ways to incentivize people if you don't have equity, if you don't want to offer equity. But I will tell you, a lot of the candidates that we have in our network are highly motivated by that incentive. I think of everyone in the business, the KPIs for the founder, especially as the business evolves and maybe the founder is wearing a founder hat, no longer specifically on the C-suite. So maybe they've stepped aside from the CEO role or a CMO role and wearing that founder hat. You want to have KPIs in place to incentivize that person to do what helps the business most. And that might be crafted by the investors and or the board. That founder needs to be motivated to be out in front of clients, shape KPIs so that they do just that. Just like you would with a salesperson, a marketing person, an ops person. Keep those KPIs, keep those bonus KPIs as a guiding light of what those people or person should be focused on. But I encourage them to be aggressive, very clear, and potentially reassessed every year. I would say for founder-specific KPIs and senior leadership as a whole, it's probably best to work at things on an annual in the shortest. If you have had time and maybe growth planning sessions and strategic planning sessions where your company is actually looking 12, 24, 36 months out, maybe you have stretch KPIs, but at annual is probably best. Now for other high growth brands we work with, I am aware that some brands for their employees, again, outside of maybe senior leadership, they do have KPIs that are adjusted on a quarterly basis. Just be mindful of your bandwidth, your ability to realistically set achievable KPIs on quarterly basis. That change can maybe come a little quicker than you anticipate. So I would say most of the time it's on an annual in our experience. In our experience, almost every role has a bonus opportunity from the bottom to the top, especially again for high growth brands. Now those bonus percentages can change, obviously. Would a salesperson have the upside bonus, same upside bonus as maybe a logistics person? Likely not. So having different bonuses is okay. Not having a bonus, you might run into a little bit of resistance from candidates. Again, candidates are thinking all in package, everything they're getting out of it. So even having a discretionary bonus can be the difference between you bringing the person on or them maybe looking at a different opportunity. It's a really good question. So you've, as a founder, maybe haven't paid yourself or just paid yourself enough to get by and cover your personal expenses. And now we've got institutional capital, we've got funding, we have sizable revenue as a company. Have a look, have that conversation with your investors and with your board, if you do have a board in place, of reevaluating your salary. And absolutely, it shouldn't just be equity. This happens quite often after a financial transaction and is naturally a really good time to talk about that and say, hey, look, here's where I think I should be based on other brands at our top line revenue. And it should be a base plus bonus model for sure. And obviously you have your equity that you got when you started things or got in very early to help build. So definitely there shouldn't just be this whole only equity, because again, percentage wise, not a lot of brands have a successful exit. And so you do need to consider just your day-to-day and life expenses. And as your company grows, so should your compensation. In terms of percentage salary increase year over year, a lot of times we hear and we think of the 3% annual salary increase to offset inflation. In our experience, again, with a lot of our brands being high growth, being sub 100 million, we actually see a lot of salary increases go over that 3%. We track this type of data all the time. I encourage you to check it out, as we've pulled this from brands like yourselves. It's a public report. We'll make sure we drop you all the link. But the short of the data is that to stay relevant, to stay competitive, you do need to reevaluate people's comp plans on an annual, and they have gone up this year, the last 18 months, as capital's flown into the space, as CPG has been very resistant to a tough COVID season. Things are very hot, so continue to reevaluate salaries and year-over-year percentages, likely a little higher than that 3%.